the peers not to sit down too early,
right,
because people didn't want to say, my football players, it's 80% physical and 20% mental because they're just dumb athletes. But it really took everybody until at least the 70% mark of 70% mental and 30% physical before anybody sat down. Most of us sat down between the 80 and 90% range of the sport being 80 to 90% mental and then 10 to 20% physical. I don't definitively know, but I do know that your biggest limiter in the sport is going to be what's between your ears and not the rest of your body. So I think if you physically, you have to do the work, but mentally, I think more of the challenges come from the self-doubt and the self-imposed limitations than the physical one. So I talked a lot about my injuries holding me back. I feel like I am mentally tough enough and emotionally strong enough, but my body would never do the work that I thought I was capable of doing. It's mental and emotional. I'll throw the blanket over both of those. One, you got to have the inner fire, the desire to get yourself up every day and get to work. So you've got to be, passionate about the sport, but then the mental toughness to survive the long hours and the grueling workouts that you're not going to nail every one. Sometimes you have that really bad workout that puts a chink in your armor, and it's a struggle to get back up the next day and think, all right, I failed at that workout, if you want to call it that, but I'm going to get myself out of bed the next day and go do it again and continue to work until I get it right. And it's tough. There's periods of time in training or in racing. If you have that bad race, you worked your butt off for 4 months for a big race, and then the race doesn't go the way that you expected it to go or the way that you feel you deserved for it to go. So again, you're taking that emotional and mental blow. So obviously, physically, the execution is a big part of it, but I think without question, more athletes are failing to reach their potential, to use that word, or failing to execute as well as they could or should, not because of physical limitations, but mental and emotional ones. Put a number on it, yeah, somewhere around that 80% mark is, to me, the mental and emotional aspect of being a successful athlete, not the physical.
So with that being said, let's go back to that age range of 25 to 39 for you. How did you measure progress in yourself?
So Training Peaks wasn't around,
right?
So I wasn't using that. And I had my own spreadsheets and my own forms that I used to prescribe training, but the analytical side of it was almost non-existent. So it really did come down to, and you've read it, the Iron War. So if you go back in the sport and look at, the difference in approaches between Dave Scott and Mark Allen. Mark was that analytical athlete, one of the first guys to train with heart rate, very kind of focused and balanced and zen. And Dave was just, I'm going to go as hard as I can every single day. My only goal today was beat yesterday. And that's kind of how I measured success on a daily basis with training was, again, if I'm going to run 3 miles off the bike, how fast am I going to run it today versus how fast did I run it last time? And there really wasn't a lot of monitoring progress other than, am I getting faster? And again, for me, it's trying to flip that mentality from, it's not about getting faster, it's about getting better. So how am I moving my needle every day in ways other than just holding myself next to the clock and saying, are my times getting faster? Because one of the beautiful but also frustrating things about the sport of triathlon is it's never a level playing field. You can do the same Top Gun race, if you want to use that one, 5 years in a row and have 5 completely different experiences because of the conditions and the variables. So if your only measure of improvement is outcome based or is clock based, you're probably going to be disappointed more often than not. You got to find other ways that you're moving the needle that maybe are harder to quantify, but are as equally gratifying and satisfying. So, that was it back then. It was just, did I win and how fast did I go? That was it. Didn't really care about anything else.
And now it's that needle.
It's different.
Yeah.
It really is. It's accepting the fact that, again, as we get older, if the PR chase is all that motivates you, again, you're going to be disappointed more often than you're going to be rewarded. Because think about that personal record, the best I have ever done something in my entire life. How many of those do you really have in you? And as we get older, it's starting to understand that, I don't want to give up my speed. I don't want to give up being fast. But the reality is you're going to start to diminish your ability to perform as you age. So you've got to find other ways to continue to get better, even though it's not always going to be manifested in I got faster.
Yeah, it's something that I really enjoy about Training Peaks as it started to increase and started to update is that now they do things by the year. So you can actually decide that, hey, I'm going to get a PR for the year,
Sure.
or I can do better for the year. Sure. I can get a different threshold for the year versus all time. And then of course they sell you all time as well.
Yep.
So that's a really nice segue into that as far as, all right, do you chase a PR? I mean, we just start with chasing the PR for the year or chase a threshold for the year versus all time.
And that's, again, with the sports of running and triathlon, it's age graded or age grouped. So you're competing against peers of your age. So, again, depending on the level at which you race, if you choose to race in that elite or open category where age is irrelevant, you're racing for that win. But, for the vast majority of athletes in our sports, they're racing against their peers. So, and I've had this conversation with other athletes and coaches of, should I reset my own personal PRs based on my age group? So my 40 to 44 PR for a 70.3 or whatever is this. My PR for a 5K in the 40 to 44 range is this. And then once I age up to 45 to 49, I wipe the slate clean and then I start over again. Or like USA Track and Field, like you see with Lynn, everything is age graded. So she can tell based on, their algorithms and formulas that I ran a mile at time X, I'm this year's old, age graded, it comes down to this. So, but yeah, I think if you're chasing lifetime bests all the time as you get older, again, it's hard to keep doing that.
It seems to become more of a surprise.
Yeah.
You chase, you put something ahead of yourself to do certain goals. So for us, sometimes it's, all right, I want to do this in the swim, bike, and run. Maybe not necessarily are they the fastest you've ever done, but the outcome might be just a couple of seconds faster, or maybe you just feel a little bit better when you come across.
Yep.
That's what I've always been talking about.
For
I know
sure.
that, a couple of my athletes, they came to me with a certain goal that they wanted to hit in the half marathon. And that first time they ran with me, they might have even been a couple minutes slower. Mm-hmm. But when they came across, they weren't done for the day versus the last time they came across, they went home and took a nap. They were done. They were done. Now, at least, I could say, all right, now go do a 2-mile shakeout. Just shake out the cobwebs, get the legs going, and they're okay with it. Yeah. Whereas before, don't even ask them to run another mile. Yep. So that to me is a win.
And that's, again, I think it's a great point. You've got to, again, widen your scope. Look for a lot more of a variety of ways to define your progress than just the clock. There's more to it than that. And you're absolutely right. So, yeah, if you can just, I finished the same workout this week that I did 3 weeks ago and I feel much better, that's a win. And don't discount that. So take solace in and take, pride in the fact that you're moving your needle and you're getting better. And again, the time is what it is. There's always going to be someone faster. There's always going to be someone better. So don't get tied up in trying to chase other people or even, again, always trying to best yourself. Just look for other ways to stay motivated and find success in the sport outside the clock. So,
okay, so that's outside the clock.
Yep.
But I need to touch on this because you've talked about it. Because one of your favorite things, if I'm not mistaken, and you can call me all wet if you want, is that when you race, you kind of like the tactical side of it too, right?
For sure. This is different. And I think everybody's mentality is a little bit different. But when you go to race a triathlon, for the majority of people, the biggest competition out there is just you. It's you against you. And again, we talked about the physical or the mental. You can make an argument on either side of which is going to be more important on the day. But ultimately, the biggest person you're going to be battling with on the day is you. But again, once you kind of get past that and put yourself in a place, where I want to contest for a podium spot in my age group or an overall win at a race, you've got to race the other competitors out there or at least take them into account. You can still race for that overall win or that age group podium by still being very introverted in your scope. You can still just listen, I don't care what other people are doing. I'm going to race my race. I'm going to do everything I can do and cross the finish line. And where I shake out is where I shake out. But then there's the other side of it to me that's just fun of racing other people. And that's what I think, our sport, I don't want to say it lacks, because there's plenty of good competition out there, but it's fun. If you go run, like again, back to the high school days of running cross country or track, it's just a flat out race. I don't care about times. I just want to beat you. So it's that mentality of going out there and understanding my strengths and weaknesses. And as you race at a certain level, you kind of know some of the other key competitors around you, and then you start to learn their strengths and weaknesses. But absolutely, I love the tactics of racing in triathlon, which is harder to do tactically than just a flat-out road race or a track race, but it's fun. I think it adds a different element of energy to it, and fun. That competition it's going to pull some good stuff out of you. And sometimes, you're going to get your ass handed to you and tuck your tail and you get beat and you lick your wounds and you go back and try and get better. But that's fun.
Yeah, and that's a lot of things that I talk about too, and I think we talked about that in episode 2. Is what's fun to people. Yep. So some people we're going to race the clock. I just want to get better every day, and that is my fun. And then there's the people that when they cross the finish line, for them maybe as I was saying before, that they cross the finish line and they feel great. Mm-hmm. Then there's those people that come across the finish line and they want to throw up. Yep. But that for them might be fun.
For sure.
That for them might be fun. So it's finding your fun and what's going to get you out there, get you racing, get you healthy. So we're going to tie this all up, and we're just going to do a quick lightning round. We've done some like long answer stuff. So this is quick, short, favorites.
I'll do my best.
No, I don't think it's going to be an issue. So basically, your favorite physical tool that you use for triathlon running or whatever, it could be your Garmin, your foam roll, or your whatever, but something that's but we'll call it analog.
Favorite or most useful?
Your favorite that you enjoy using, an analog tool.
Bike.
So your bike. Okay. Your favorite online tool.
Again, favorite or most useful? Most useful is probably just Training Peaks, to throw a blanket over it. Right. Funnest is probably Strava, because I like what they've done with adding that element of, it's a social community where, hey, you sniped my segment, you got this. Right, so that makes it fun. But Training Peaks is hands down just such a useful tool.
I agree. Your favorite road race?
Ever? All time?
Yeah.
Bic 7. Back home. Quad Cities, Bic 7.
Okay.
It's the nation's largest prize purse for a non-marathon run. It's a 7-mile run back in my hometown. And this is, obviously I'm rambling too long of an answer, but fine. Bic Spiderbeck was an old Dixieland jazz musician back in the 1920s, so they've had a festival in my hometown for eons, and have had this race contested there. But that's how one of the motivators for me getting into the sport, Bill Rogers and Frank Shorter and Joan Benoit, they all have statues at the start line because it's such a big race for them. But 35 to 40,000 people, all the top tiers. If it's an Olympic year, they won't get all the Olympic caliber East Africans because they're doing their world championships, but it's a super competitive race, super tough race. Got to race in the elite corral one year, snuck in there by 1 second on a qualifying time. But that was my favorite road race for sure.
Cool. Favorite triathlon?
Locally, I'll go with St. Anthony's, and I know it's had its ups and downs, but it's such a prestigious, long-standing, good, well-run local race, and the challenges they have are always weather-related. It's never logistics or volunteers or setup. So locally, I would say St. Anthony's. All over the place, probably ITU World Championships in London back in 2013. That was just such a phenomenal course, getting to race the race that they did the Olympics on in 2012, and to be able to ride your bike through essentially all the big monuments. You didn't even have to sightsee in London because we rode through all of it. Don't remember a ton of it, but that was a super cool race and experience.
Oh my God. Yeah, I can't even imagine. Other favorite multi-sport race? So let's take triathlon out of it. I know you've done duathlons, and so another multi-sport race.
Well, again, if we talk, triathlon covers a lot. So if we're focusing on non-draft legal, which is what most people do, the draft legal, the sprint distance world championships in Cozumel. Okay. So draft legal sprint distance racing in Cozumel a couple years ago was a blast. National championships for duathlon up in North Carolina a couple years ago. There's been some good ones. Awesome.
Favorite book?
The one that always pops into my head when someone asks me this question is called, now I'm going to forget the name. I remember the author. It's Carlos Castaneda. He was like an anthropology professor from UCLA, so totally outside my normal genre of reading.
Oh, yeah, I was going to say.
Circle of Power. Circles of Power.
All right. Well, you know what? We'll find
I'll look it up.
We'll find it, and we'll put a link on the show notes.
Has nothing to do with sports in any way, shape, or
Nothing wrong
form.
with that. All right. So, favorite website to